Somebody has rightly said these things. Birds of a feather flock together. A friend in need is the friend indeed. Charity begins at home. Honesty is the best policy. And many more things. Hello everyone, my name is Nitu Chowrasia. Welcome to Knowledge Graph. In this video, I have a collection of almost 50 proverbs which are very well known and are widely used. So, what are proverbs? Proverbs basically is, if I say, it's a line of wisdom with a deep meaning. It's something that someone has said and it explains you a lot of things in just one sentence. So, as you can see the pointers over here, the number one point says it's a useful wisdom. It's a kind of a truth which people have said over a period of time. Second point says with practical experience. What do you basically mean by practical experience? It's basically like somebody like our older people, they have experienced something, and when they tell you something, it's because of practical experience. So proverb is also some of the proverbs have been born out of practical experiences. The third point says persons of different countries. Okay, so the same proverb can vary in different countries in different languages, but the meaning or the insight of that proverb might be the same. The fourth point says passed from generation to generation. Okay, and this point, when it says passed from generation to generation, it's basically like our forefathers have been telling us a lot of things like, a friend in need is a friend indeed. Early birds catches the worm. This one point over here which says passed from generation to generation, or it's basically like what our elderly people have said, reminds me of one small example which I have experienced in my life. I will tell you a small story. Like in my school, there was this girl who was a very close friend of mine. Till school, we were very close friends, and we used to talk over phones for hours and hours, sharing everything almost, like what happened today, what happened in school, everything, like everything. And then just after our high schools got over, immediately, it didn't even take a month, and we stopped talking because we didn't have anything in common. And when my father came to know about that, he told me one thing: out of sight is out of mind. So that is one thing which didn't hit me at that point. But after years, when we actually, we just texted on our birthdays and we never spoke ever, then that proverb came into my mind: out of sight is out of mind. And that's why it's said that it is out of practical experiences. Okay, so that was kind of a story. Let's start off with our proverb list. Okay, guys, first and foremost thing is like over here in this line, you will have the proverb. Here, you'll have the meaning. This is kind of an image which I have given for all 50 proverbs, because sometimes images are a good way to remember certain things. And this is an example with the same proverb. So, do not link this example with the images. Images are just given for you to learn, imagine and learn things. So the first one is all that glitters is not gold. When you see this image over here, these all glittery stuff might look like golds, but these are not golds. These are just the glitters which are used in arts and crafts. So all that glitters is not gold. So what basically is means is that something that appears to be good, a human being or anything that appears to be good on above, might not be good from inside. A person who is a very good friend to you on the face might not think of your benefit or might not have good thoughts about you inside. So that's why you can use this proverb whenever you think of something like, when somebody has done something bad to you and that person always appeared to be good on face, you might use this proverb saying that all that glitters is not gold. Here you have a sentence which says, my grandfather advised me to be careful about making new friends because all that glitters is not gold. Okay, so this one is pretty easy. It says like bad news travel faster. We all have experience in our life that even if we are not watching TVs, or we are not watching news, or we are not reading newspaper, if there is a mishap that has happened in the outside world, if like suppose there was some catastrophe, there's an earthquake, there is a volcano, there was terrorist attack or anything like 9/11, the World Trade attack, or anything, even if you are, for example, even if you are not in front of the TV and if you are not keeping track of the news, somewhere or the other this news will come up to you. It's because of the fact that it is a bad news. So that's why this proverb says bad news travels fast. Here is a sentence which says, John, Sam, I'm so sorry to have to tell you this, but I have an awful news. Sam, is it about Jimmy? John, yes, how did you know? Sam, I heard she had a car accident. Bad news travels fast. Next one is be cruel to be kind. So what this basically means is like sometimes in our life we have to be cruel to certain people if we need to be kind to them. For example, it's just a small example, like sometimes the parents are really bad with their kids. They scold them. It's because of their better good. If they don't scold them at a time when they are doing something, if their kids are doing something wrong, that might harm the kid in the future. So sometimes we have to say some painful things in order to do something good for someone else. Sentence is, I told her that she looks fat in that party dress. Sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. So this sentence over here, what it explains is like, suppose you have a very close friend of yours, and if somebody is wearing a dress which is not looking good on them, you can just tell them up to their face that, look, you are looking fat in this dress. Because what will happen is like it is going to save them from the embarrassment which they are going to face in the party. There might be other outside people who might tell them on their face, and they might feel bad. So now you can relate. I hope you can relate like why people say be cruel to be kind. The next one is beggars can't be choosers. So what this proverb says is like, imagine someone who is very poor and someone who is begging. For God forbid, nobody should be like that. But someone who is begging, who doesn't have the basic need of food, clothes, shelter, like that. So basically someone who doesn't have enough money to satisfy what they need should always be satisfied with what is given to them. The sentence over here says, in this village you are the only one going to get these many options for furniture. Learn to live it, because beggars can't be choosers. Next one says, better safe than sorry. It is always better, it is always better to take precautions to be safe than, to be sorry later. It's okay to drive on a little less speed than to drive at such a high speed where you harm your own self. So it is wiser to be overcautious and take proper care. The sentence says, the doctor have to consider all possibility before they can decide a course of action, because it is better to be safe than sorry. Next one says, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Okay, so this one I can explain with a very practical example. Suppose there's a placement, and you're a participant of this placement. You got placed in one of the big MNCs or a big company, but there's someone who told you that even Google and Microsoft are going to come later, and you are thinking like, should I just not join this company and wait for Google and Microsoft to come, and then maybe I'll apply, and then maybe I can get that job. So that might be a dangerous jump, because you never know, if you leave this job and if you opt for Google and Microsoft, they are going to choose you. So that's why this proverb suits well, like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. It's always better to depend on something that you have in your hand. Okay, the sentence is, I might have got a better offer if I had waited for some more times, but I decided to take the one I already had. After all, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Next is birds of a feather flock together. This is a very common one. It's like people of same sentiments and same thinking. Always, you'll always find them together. For example, if there is a person who likes partying, you will always find friends of his of the same category, of the same mindset. So birds of a feather flock together. Every sentence is like, every evening many drinkers get together in a bar near that restaurant. Birds of a feather flock together. Next one says, blood is thicker than water. What it means to say and what it wants to relate is that family ties are always very stronger than anything else. Even if you're in a joint family, or in your family, if you have a dispute among your family members, but still that unity is always going to stay. Suppose you have a problem with your family member, but there's an outsider who comes and have conflicts with you. Your families, in spite of having all the problems with you, will always stand by your side. The sentence says, when you get into trouble, usually your family will be the one to support you and take you out, not your friends. After all, blood is thicker than water. Next one says, charity begins at home. It is said that if you want to do charity, or if you want to do good for someone, you always start with your own family members first. For example, if you're a kind of a person who gives a lot of donation, but if there is a person who is ill in your own family, and if you're not taking care of that person properly, and if you're not investing money in that person's health, then that charity makes no sense. That's why it is said that charity begins at home. Sentences, she spends the little money she earns on social work and neglect her own family, forgetting that charity begins at home. Next one is, coming events cast their shadows before. This basically means if there is going to be a change in the future, or there are certain symptoms that you see that you might find changeable. For example, you might have seen that if there are chances of tsunami, all the animals will start behaving little odd, and they'll start running away from the shore. And even if they are not on the shore, they'll make noise, or they'll behave weird. It's because they can feel what is going to happen. They have this power to feel what is going to happen. So that's the best example I can think of to explain you that the coming events cast their shadows before. Sentence: if you had followed the news, you would have already known that the opposition party is going to win the election. Coming events cast their shadows before. So the next one is the die is cast. What it basically means is some decisions which has already been made cannot be revoked. वो कहते हैं ना, जो जुबान से निकल गया उसे हम तो वापस नहीं ले सकते. So there are certain circumstances where certain things have been done which you cannot revoke, and that's when it is said the die is cast. From the moment the negotiation failed, the die was cast and war was inevitable. Next one is do as you would be done by. um, आपको लोगों को वैसे ही ट्रीट करना चाहिए जैसे आप चाहते हैं कि लोग आपको ट्रीट करें. So it's like whatever kind of treatment you want for yourself from others, you should always treat others in the same way. If you do good to someone, that person would do good to you, and if you do bad to someone, you might get bad in return. But today's generation, it is like even if you do good to someone, you might get bad from that person. But no worries, we should always try and do our best from our side at least. So the sentence is Lily told her daughter, treat your friends with respect and honesty if you want the same for yourself. As it said, do as you would be done by. Next one is the early bird catches the worm. So basically it means if you catch hold of the opportunity as early as possible, there'll always be a positive outcome. Sentence: I had told you that only the early bird catches the worm in this organization. Why did you wait for the last minute to send your application out? The seat is already taken now. Next is East or West, home is the best. As a childhood, we all have learned this. No matter on what part of earth you are, no matter how much you're traveling, no matter how much you love traveling, no matter whatever you do, at the end of the day, when you come back home, that's peace of mind. It's always like home is the happiest place. So the sentence is like, you may think that the traveling all the time is fun, but eventually you will discover that East or West, home is the best. Next one is easy come, easy go. It is said that whatever you get without doing any hard work, without putting in any effort, without using your mind and your body, those things, even if you get it, it's always going to go in some or the other way. For example, money is the best example for this. Like there are a lot of people earning money through corruption, but as fast as they're getting it, they're going to lose it on twice faster rate. The sentence is like Sam earned lots of money illegally, but today he has nothing left. Easy come, easy go. Next, example is better than precept. This is a very good thing if you are giving gyan to someone. For example, if there is a smaller brother or sister of yours, or anyone, for practically anyone, if you're telling them, hey, you know what, you should work hard, you should study day and night, you should study for 14 hours, or you should give your best in your office. If you're telling them all these things because you do yourself, then it's good. But if you're telling them all these, I mean, you yourself are not doing this, then that doesn't make sense. So that's why I said example is better than precept. They should, if they see you working hard, if they see you studying for so many hours, to whom you're giving these examples, they will automatically start feeling, yeah, I should also do this. So the sentence is, my brother never lectured me. He worked hard to be in the position where he is now, and I try my best to follow his footsteps. He is a living proof that example is better than precept. Next is, the fault is in ourselves, not in our stars. What this proverb explains you is that whenever we don't get something, we always blame like, hey, you know what, mera to luck hi kharab hai. But there's nothing like luck kharab. There's nothing like luck. For example, if we fail in something, we it is not because we failed because of our fate. We failed because we lacked hard work, we lacked opportunities, we lacked effort, we lacked our 100% time or something like that. It's never like luck kharab and all that. It's just for saying. And by the way, this proverb is a famous proverb from Julius Caesar. For those of you who have read Julius Caesar, so the sentence is also taken from there. Cassius says to Brutus, "The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we underlings." This word underlings basically means inferior, or someone who is inferior in status or something. So this sentence was said by Cassius to Brutus when they were planning a conspiracy against Julius Caesar. Next one is forbidden fruit is the sweetest. For example, if you are a teenager and if you are not allowed to drink and party, you will always find pleasure in doing all those things to drink, party, and that's why it said forbidden fruit is the sweetest. It is like you enjoy those things which are not allowed to you. It gives you a great sense of enjoyment. Sentences like, I know that the forbidden fruit is always the sweetest, but I will not be going to the party that my mother has specifically asked me not to go. Next, genius is an infinite capacity for taking pain. Who is a genius? Genius is not someone who is born with a gifted brain. You call someone genius because they are the people who don't know how to give up. They are the people who know how to take trouble, to work hard, to give their 100% efforts, to think of all the odds and still try their best. Sentence is, if genius is an infinite capacity for taking pains, Caroline certainly has it. She never overlooks a single detail that needs attention. A friend in need is the friend indeed. So this is a very common example, and this picture over here is really very cute to explain you what it basically means. So a friend who helps you when one needs help is a true friend. For example, if you have a friend who only comes and bees with you when you're partying and you have your happy days, then that friend, and not stand with you when you are in your bad phase of life, then it's no use having such kind of friend. But if there's a friend who stands with you in your bad times and even doesn't come and parties with you, you should always keep that friend closer. The sentence is, Sam stood with his best friend in all ups and downs when he was suffering from depression. This is a perfect example of saying a friend in need is the friend indeed. Half a loaf is better than no bread. This picture of you is really heartbreaking, man. I mean, God forbid nobody should be in this condition. We are staying on a planet where we throw food, the restaurants throw food on an everyday basis, but we still have people on this planet where they don't get enough food and they are malnutritioned. It's really sad on a humanity. Half a loaf is better than no bread. Just imagine if these are the kids, if you give them, if you even if you give them a half bread, do you think they will demand you anything more than that? No, they will never demand you, because a half of bread is also a lot for them when they don't even get a proper food. The meaning of this proverb is that it is better to take what you get and what you have in hand than to have a risk of not having anything at all. The sentence is, I know they are offering you less money than you did hope for, but at least it's a good job. Half a loaf is better than no bread. Hard work never hurts anybody. This is so true. It's like if you're sitting idle, if you're not doing anything, if you could just keep that aside and start doing something, and if you just work hard, you there would be something, some outcome of whatever you're doing, rather than just sitting idle. Sentence is, Merlin said to his son, Chris, stop playing video games and go complete your syllabus as the exams are near. After all, hard work never hurts anybody. Next one, honesty is the best policy. Every child knows this. It's always better to be honest than to be corrupt. You know, it's safer advantages for a man to be honest. This image over here is taking money for some deal or something. So these are all corruptions. You better be honest and have less money than to be corrupted and have lots of money and then suffer in the future. So the sentence is, most politicians does not abide by the saying honesty is the best policy and dive themselves into corruption. It is never too late to mend. This proverb basically says that you always have a chance to repair yourself, to change your attitude, to change your own character, or even, you know, if you're not doing good with someone else or if you're hurting someone else, there's always a time to mend yourself, mend your own character. This is what this want to say, and improve your own relationships. The sentence here says, Sarah, I still miss Herlene, but it's been a year since our huge fight and we haven't spoken to each other since. Mother, well, it's never too late to mend. Why don't you call her up and apologize? Next, laugh and the world laughs with you, whip and you whip alone. So this picture here is so cute. It's rightly said, you know, people are always ready to share your joy and happiness than to stand with you when you're in pain and sorrow and you really have trouble. There are hardly few people on this planet who will stand by you when you're in your bad times. So that's what it says. When you're laughing, in the entire world laughs with you, but when you cry, nobody, you have to cry alone. Nobody comes and, you know, tap on your shoulder and say it's gonna be okay. John, sentences like, John, father, you know, Harry, who has been my childhood best friend, suddenly behaves odd after I lost my job. Father, yes, son, unfortunately, that's how people are. It's like laugh and the world laughs with you, whip and you whip alone. Next is look before you leap. See this image? Look before you leap, because if he jumps from here right now, what is going to happen? You can understand. It's always good to think of all the possible consequences of your own action. Sentence: I had asked him to look before he left when he was planning to buy those stocks. Look what he has got himself into. The next is make hay while the sun shines. What basically is a hay? Hays are actually these dry grasses which is out of that wheat or something, and you make a fodder out of it. You can feed the animals like that. After you have taken out the wheat and the grass that is left out, that's basically is a hay. So the proverb make hay while the sun shines actually means that we should always take chances, to do something while the conditions are still good. This proverb actually is a very old saying because ये जो hay होता था ना, in medieval times farmers used to, like that time the machineries were not these advanced. Now we have all these machineries where we can make hay quite easily, but in the medieval time the farmers used to be very cautious because if it rains the fodder would get destroyed. So what they had to do while the sun is still shining and it's a sunny day, they had to cut, dry, and make this hay. That's where this proverb originated, saying make hay while the sun shines. Sentence is he became a millionaire because he knew how to make hay while the sun shines. Next one is much cry and little wool. It's just like saying that there is a much fuss about something without any proper result. वो कहते हैं ना बहुत drums बजा दिए पर actually हुआ तो कुछ नहीं. So that's like much fuss without any result. The sentence is the opposition party held big rallies and claimed of waiving of farmers' loan. But after they won the election, they completely avoided discussion on loans. It's like much cry and little wool. It never rains, but it pours. It is a saying, when problems don't just happen occasionally, but they happen all at the same time. I can give you a small example. For example, आपको ऑफिस जाना है, आप सुबह बहुत लेट से उठे, and when you got up late, you went outside, and then it started raining, and then suddenly you realized you don't have an umbrella. You got wet, then you hired a taxi, and on the midway the taxi got punctured. Somehow you reached office, there were some projects you didn't complete, your manager gave you scolding. It's like when the problem comes, it comes in a bunch. Like if something goes wrong, you will find that every other situation is getting worse. So the example is, first my car broke down, then I lost my keys. It never rains, but it pours. No rose without a thorn. This proverb basically means that happiness and sorrow goes hand in hand. If today you're happy or for a few days you're happy, there will be sad moments, and even if you're sad, there will be a time when you get happy moments. So no time is like always happy. So happiness and sorrow goes hand in hand. Sentence example is Ruby. My daughter-in-law is lovely and gracious, but I'm discovering that she has a terrible temper. Farah. Well, there's no rose without a thorn. Next, there is no smoke without a fire. It's a proverb which says that rumors don't just arise from nothing. Like there's always a cause for something. Sentence usage. She says the accusations of her cheating in the exam is not true, but there's no smoke without fire. Next is out of sight, out of mind. In the starting of the video, I gave you an example of this proverb, out of sight and out of mind. This is one proverb that I actually relate in my life. For example, if you have a friend and if you're meeting that person on a regular basis, you're always going to, remember that person. But once you go into long distance or something, when you don't see a person face to face for a longer time, you tend to forget that person. Sentence usage. In school, we were so close friends that we almost spoke the entire day. Now we are in different universities and we don't even talk once a year. It's like out of sight, out of mind. The pen is mightier than the sword. This proverb basically means the people who can write, like the intellectuals, the philosophers, the writers, the authors, people who have the capability of writing can actually bring about changes. We might at times notice that a particular writing or a particular speech or an article has brought about a revolution or a kind of a change in the system. So that's a perfect example of the pen is mightier than the sword. Sentences. That one piece of article on violence against women written by the journalist has created revolution across the country and provoked the judiciary to make ordinance. This proves the pen is mightier than the sword. Ordinance means law. Prevention is better than cure. It is always, it is always better to be more careful and take precautions than to find a cure for it once you have it. For example, if you don't have diabetes or if you don't have a sugar problem, it's always better to, cut down on your sugar level so that in future you don't suffer from diseases like diabetes and sugar problem. So that's one example I can think of for this proverb. Sentence usage: unless you want to be terribly sick for days, get the flu injection right away. Precaution is better than cure. Rome was not built in a day. This is a very good proverb which tells you that you should never leave hope and you should never ever stop working hard towards your goal. It's like, suppose if you have a big goal, like if you have to crack an exam or if you have to achieve something in your life, and you put your one step forward to your towards your goal and you find no result out of it, and you think, yaar छोड़ो मुझसे ना हो पाएगा. It's not like that. Everything, every perfect thing and every good things need time and patience. So you should always have time and patience for the things you want in your life, because if the goal is big, you need to have patience and time. Just as sentence usage, just as Rome was not built in a day, you are not going to pass this exam by studying for just one day. Next, a rolling stone gathers no moss. Do you see this picture over here? It has a lot of moss and fungus and this green tiny organisms and plants over it. This is because this stone has stayed at this particular place for a longer time. Only then is it able to gather so much of moss. So this proverb actually means to say that if a person keeps on changing places and jobs from one place to another and then job, this is very easy to understand practically, because if you keep on changing places, you might not get in contact with a lot of people. You'll not be able to make good friends, and if you're changing places, you obviously are not going to buy a property in that particular city, and you might not have social ties. Sentence usage: it was time for you to settle down at least 5 years back. You should find a place that you like and build a home there, because a rolling stone gathers no moss. Next, seeing is believing. This one is quite a simple sentence. It's like whenever you see something, only then you believe it. And that is practically true. If somebody tells you something, you should not believe it, because it's always better if you have seen it with your own eyes. Example: as they say, seeing is believing. I believed only after seeing that Fred has left his old mother and settled with his wife in another city. Still water run deep. ऐसा कहते हैं कि अगर कोई इंसान शांत है या फिर बहुत चुपचाप है तो लोग उसे कहते हैं कि वो बहुत शाई है, इंट्रोवर्ट है. द बेस्ट एग्जांपल इज, सपोज इफ यू हैव अ डिस्कशन गोइंग ऑन अ पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक and you are just sitting in a group of people, and if you find someone who is not speaking on that particular topic, you might as well think that the person doesn't know anything about that particular topic. But that might not be the case, because it is said that some people who are quiet have more knowledge and ability and strength. Example: he didn't express his opinion in the meeting, but still water ran deep. A stitch in time saves nine. This proverb says that we should always take an immediate action at the right time. If you have a problem, or if you have a situation and if you need to take action for that situation, take it at that time. वो कहते हैं ना, कल करे सो आज कर, आज करे सो अब. It's like, don't delay it. Do it at the right time. Maybe then it's gonna save a lot of hard work later. Example: Sam said to his friend, you better bring your bike to the shop while it's still running, because a stitch in time saves nine. There is a time for everything. This proverb actually says that one should do things at the right time and at the right place. For example, if you want to go for a vacation and you have your exams in next 1 month, you can't go for a vacation if you have your important exams just a month. You can take that trip on the right time. Example: there is a time and place for everything, but this formal dinner is not the time or place to eat with your fingers. There is as good fish in the sea as ever come out of it. So this proverb says that even if you lose one chance or if you lose one opportunity, there always going to be another chance. As they say, there's always another day for everything. It's just like if a good fish comes out of the sea and the sea is full of fishes. So there'll always be a better fish than what has come out of it, or there will be as good fish as that has come out of it. Example: I'm pretty disappointed that I didn't get the job, but I'm trying to remind myself that there are as good fish in the sea as ever come out of it. Next proverb is, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. I absolutely believe this thing, that if you see something really beautiful, suppose you have gone to a place which is very beautiful, a person,
Anything, a person, a thing, a scene, something that is beautiful will always give you joy. Like if you have a beautiful picture, you will look at it and you'll be like, wow, this was the place I went and this was so beautiful. So a beautiful thing, person, object always gives you pleasure. Example, Jocelyn, I don't understand why someone will pay millions of dollars to have some old painting. Sam, because a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Time is a great healer. This is absolutely true. No matter how bad your time is, no matter whatever you're feeling at a particular moment, even if you're feeling worse in a situation or in a position, always remember that time is a great healer. For example, if you had a best friend and you are no more friends with that person, you always think, I have never thought of the situations. You'll always feel like this is the end of the world. Now I can't get out of this. But trust me, time is a great healer, and with the passage of time, everything will get smooth and you will feel much better. Example, you may think your love and trust is broken and that you can never overcome this pain, but you know what, my friend? Time is a great healer. You can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. This proverb means that it is useless to give opportunity to a person who himself is not willing to do something, who himself is not willing to take that opportunity. For example, you have a friend who doesn't have a job and he's desperately looking for a job, but he at the same time he's very lazy and he doesn't want to work. Even if you say that you have a vacancy in your office and if he is not willing to give the interview or something, then it's like baseless. You can take him, you might take him to your company, but if he's not ready to prepare for the interview, he's never going to crack it. It's just like you take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. Example, James, I don't understand. We have given him the best of education, introduced him to the right people, but he just don't pursue a meaningful career. Bill, well, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. Two heads are better than one. It's said that when two people think, it's all the outcome is always going to be better than what a one person thinks, because if a particular topic is given and if there's two mind who's thinking on that person, you might get a lot of solution than just one solution which is going to come out of your head. Example, the company has engaged with another consultant firm for this important project as they believe two heads are better than one. United we stand, divided we fall. In the childhood, we had one story where the moral of the story was it's always easier to break a single stick than to break a bundle of stick. It's just like saying that a group of people have more power than just one person taking an action or taking a stand on a topic. Example, the tenants of this building must come together if we are to make the landlord agree to our demands. United we stand, divided we fall. Next proverb is waste not, want not. This is so true. If we don't waste anything, we might not be in a crisis of it in the future, whether it's money, food, or resources. So never waste money, food, or resources. Example, Sarah never let her leftovers spoil in the refrigerator but makes sure to eat them. She says, waste not, want not. Next proverb is what is done cannot be undone. अब किसी का खून करके उसको वापस अगर वो इंसान मर गया तो उसे तो जिंदा नहीं कर सकते ना. This is the best example, what is done cannot be undone. What has already been done that you cannot change. Lily, I wish I had not insulted Sophie. James, what is done cannot be undone. It's just like अगर मुंह से कोई बात निकल गई तो वो हम वापस नहीं ले सकते. Next proverb is variety is the spice of life. So variety of things and experiences make life interesting and prevent it from becoming bored. Sentence example, James keep exploring different countries every year. He says variety is the spice of life. Next is where there is a will, there is a way. This proverb basically means that if someone is very determined to reach to his or her goals, and if that person works hard and is very motivated to reach that particular position where he wants to be, there is nothing that can stop him from reaching that position. Sentence example, I completed my graduation despite my father losing his job and not able to pay my fees because where there's a will, there's a way. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. These were the 50 proverbs and the well-known proverbs which are frequently used. I hope this video will be helpful for you as a normal learning, and also these questions are even asked in examination. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please let me know if you have any questions. I would be more than happy to comment on them. Let me know if there are certain topics on which you want me to make videos. I will try and do that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please stay in touch. Thank you. Have a good day.